A Christmas Carol. Ebenezer Scrooge was a marvellously owner of a successful counting house, a business establishment for bookkeeping or correspondence. As the office was about to close, Scrooge's nephew came to wish him a Merry Christmas. Scrooge sneered, for he loathed sentiment and loved only money. He abhorred Christmas as a time when people spend more than they should and so find themselves poorer. Scrooge grudgingly allowed Bob Cratchit, his underpaid clerk, to have his Christmas day off, his one concession to the holiday, but he warned Bob to be earlier than his usual time the next day. Scrooge left his office and went to his lonely lodging, which he used to share with his business partner Jacob Marley, who had been dead for 7 years.
When the clock struck again, the ghost of Christmas present appeared and the took carriage around the city on Christmas morning. They visit Bob Cratchit's home where he saw Bob family, his son, Tiny Tim, and a crippled the Cratchits simple meal because a banquet. Everyone was happy.
Loyal Bob proposed a toast to Mr. Scrooge. His boss, Scrooge, noticed that the mere mention of his name had a depressing effect on the happy family gathering.
Flying around the city with a ghost, Scrooge noticed that everyone posed to with his fellows a Merry Christmas.
The reality was in the air. At the home of Scrooge's nephew, Gaiety, then the clock rang out and Scrooge found himself back in his room.
Then a frightening figure approached, a black-shrouded phantom, the ghost of Christmas future. The phantom slowly, gravely, silently approached. When it came near him, Scrooge bent down upon his knee, for in the air which this spirit moved, it seems to scatter gloom and mystery. It was shrouded in deep black garment, which concealed its head, its face, its form, and left nothing of its visible save one outstretched hand. He knew no more, for the spirit neither spoke nor moved.
I'm in the presence of ghosts of Christmas yet to come, ghosts of future. I fear you more than any spectre I have seen, but as I know your purpose is to do me good, and as I hope to live to another month from what I was, I am prepared to bear you company and do it with a thankful heart. Will you not speak to me? It gave him no reply. The hand was pointed out straight before them. Lead on, lead on. The night is waning fast, and it's precious time to me. I know, lead up on, spirit. There scarcely seemed to enter the city, for the city seemed rather to spring up about them, but they were in the heart of it, unchanged among the merchants. The spirit stopped beside a little knot of businessmen, observing that the hand was pointed to them. Scrooge advanced to listen to their talk. "No," said a great fat man with a monstrous chin. "I don't know much about it either way. I only know he's dead." "When did he die?" inquired another. "Last night, I believe." "Why, what was the matter with him?" "I thought he'd never die." "Gods knows," said the first with a yawn. "What is done with his money?" asked a red-faced gentleman. "I haven't heard," said the man with the large chin. "Company, perhaps. He hasn't left it to me. That's all I know. Bye, bye."
Scrooge was the first inclined to be surprised that the spirit should attach importance to a conversation, apparently so trivial. But feeling assured that it must have some hidden purpose, he set himself to consider what is likely to be. It could scarcely be supposed to have any bearing on the death of Jacob, his old partner, for that was past, and this ghost province was a future. He looked about in that every place of his own image. But another man stood in his accused corner, and through the clock pointed to his usual time of day for being there. He saw no likeness of himself among the multitude that poured in through the porch. It gave him little surprise, however, for there had been revolving in his mind a change of life. And he thought and hoped he saw his newborn resolution carried out in this. They left this busy scene and went into the obscure part of the town, to a low syrup where iron and old rags, bottles, bones, and greasy offal were brought. A gray-haired rascal of great age sat smoking his pipe. Scrooge and Phantom came into the presence of this man, just as a woman with a heavy bundle slunk into the shop, but she had scarcely entered, when another woman, similarly laden, came into, and she was closely followed by man in faded black. After a period of blank astonishment, in which the old man with the pipe had joined them, the all three burst into a laugh.
Let the chairwoman alone to be the first, cried the man who had entered first. Let the alone to be second. Let the undertaker's man alone to be the third. Look here, old Joe. Here's chance if we haven't all three met here without meaning it. You could have met in better place. You were made free of it a long ago. No, and the other two and strangers, what have you got to sell? What have you got to sell? Half a minute, patient Joe, and you shall see. What odds then? What odds, Mr. Dilber? Said the woman. Every person has an right to take care of themselves. He always did was the worse for the loss of a few things like this. Not a dead man, I suppose. Mr. Dilbert, whose manner was remarkable for general proportion, said no, indeed, ma'am. If he wanted to keep them after he was dead, a weak old screw, why wasn't he natural in his life? If there had been, he'd have someone to talk after him when he was struck with death, instead of lying gasping out his last there alone himself. It's the trust would that ever was spoken. It's a judgment on him. I wish it was a little heavier judgment, and it should have been. You may depend upon it. If I could have laid my hands on anything else, open the bundle of juice and let me know the value of it. Speak out plain. I'm not afraid to be the first, nor afraid for them to see it.
The chairwoman alone to be the first, cried the man who had entered first. Let the laundress alone to be the second, and let the undertaker's man alone to be the third. Look here, old Joe, here's a chance. If he haven't all three met her without meaning it.
Met a better place. You were made free of it long ago. You know, and the other two in stranger, what have you got to sell? What have you got to sell?
Minute, patient, Joe, and you shall see. What odds then? What odds, Mr. Dilber? Said the woman. Every person has a right to care of themselves. He always did. Who was the worse for the loss of a few things like this? Not a dead man, I suppose.
Dimber, whose manner was remarkable for general proportion, said no, I didn't, ma'am. If he wanted to keep them after he had dead, a weak old screw, why hasn't he natural in his lifetime? If he had been, he'd have somebody to look after him when he was struck with death, instead of lying gasping out his plaster alone himself.
It's the truest word that ever was spoken. It a judgment on him. I wish it was little heavier judgment, and it should have been you may depend upon it. If I could have laid my hands on anything else, open that bundle, old Joe, and let me know the values of it. Speak out plain. I'm not afraid to be the first, nor afraid for them to see it.
Out on his knee for the greater convenience of opening the bundle and drag out a large heavy roll of some dark stuff. What do you call this? Bird bed contain. Bed curtains. A bed curtains don't drop that oil upon the blankets now. His blankets. Whose else do you think? He isn't likely to take cold without them. I dare to say you may look through that shirt till your eyes itchy, but you know won't fly a hole in Nor and Threadbare's place. It is the best he had, and find one or two they have wasted by dressing him up. It is not have been for me.
Listen to that dialogue in horror. Spirit, I see. The chase of his unhappy man might be my own. My life tends that way now. Merciful heaven, what is this? The scene had changed, and now he almost touched a bare, uncertain bed. A pale light rising in the outer air fell straight upon the bed, and on it, unwatched, unwept, uncared for, was the body of this blank unknown man.
Let me see some tenderness connected with the death, or this dark chamber. Spirit will be forever present to me. Conducted him to poor Bob Cratchit's house, the dwelling he had visited before, and he found the mother and the children seated around the fire. Quiet, very quiet. The noisy little scratches were as still as statues in one corner, and sat looking up at Peter, who had a book before him. The mother and her motherfucker daughter were engaged in needlework, but surely they were very quiet.
He took a child and set in the midst of them. Where had Scrooge heard those words? He had not dreamed them. The boy must have read them out as the spirit crossed the threshold. Why did he not go on? The mother laid her work upon the table and put her hand up to her face. The color hurts my eyes, she said. The color? Ah, poor Tiny Tim. They better now again. It makes them weak by candlelight, and I won't show weak eyes to your father when he comes home for the word. It must be near his time. Pass it rather, Peter answered, shutting up his book. But I think he was spoke a little slower than he used to this last few evenings, mother. I have known him walk with Tiny Tim upon his shoulder bare fast I needed. And so I cried Timmy often.
Exclaimed another, so had all. But he was very light to carry, and his father loved him, so that no trouble and no trouble. And there's a father at the door. She hurried out and met him, and the little Bob in his comfortable. He had need the poor fellow come in. His tea was ready for him to the hub, and they all tried who should help him to eat most. Then the two young Cratchits got upon his knees, and laid each child a little cheek against his face. As they said, "Don't mind it, father, don't be grim." Bob was very cheerful with them, and spoke pleasantly with all the family. He looked upon the work at all tables to praise the industry and speed of Mrs. Crosby and the girls. They would be done long very Sunday. He said, Sunday. You went today then, Robert? Yes, my dear, returned Bob. I wish you cannot have gone, it would have done. Glad to see how bridge apace. But you see, I promised him that I would walk there a Sunday. My little child. He broke down all at once. He could not help with it. If he could have helped it in the end, child could have been farther apart, perhaps than they were, said Scrooge. Something informs me that our parting moment is at hand. I know it, but I know how to tell what one that was. With covered face, whom we saw lying dead, the ghost of Christmas yet to come encouraged him to dismay. Wretch, Unirus Church. The spirit stood among the graves and pointed down to one. Before I draw needling to that stone, to which you point, answer me one question. Are they the shadow of the wings that will be, or are they shadow of the things that may be only? Still the ghost pointing downward to the grave by which he stood. Men, of course, will foreshadow certain ends, to which is perverse, and they must lead. But it curse be departed from the ends will change. Say it is with what you show me.
Spirit was immovable as ever. Scrooge crept towards it, trembling as he went. The following the finger read upon the stone of the unlikely grave with own name. Ebenezer Scrooge. I am the man that lay upon the bed. No, spirit. Oh, no, spirit, hear me, I am not the man I was. I will not be man I must have been but for these interviews. Why me this, if I am past all hope? Assure me that I hate may change this shadow you have shown me by an altered life. For the first time, the kind hand falter, I will honor Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all the year. I will live in the past, present, and the future. The spirits of all three shall thrive within me. I will not shut out the lesson that they teach, or till I may sponge away the writing on the stone. Holding up his hands in one last prayer to have this fate reversed, he saw an alteration in the phantom's hood and dress. I shrunk, collapsed, and dwindled down into a depth. Yes, and the depth was his own. The bed was his own. The room was his own. Best and happiness all. The time before was his own to make amends in. He was checked in his transport by the church swinging out the lastiest pills he had ever heard. Running to the window, he opened it to put out his head. No fog, no mist, no night. Clear, bright, stirring golden day. What's today? Cried Scrooge, calling downward to a boy in Sunday clothes, who perhaps had loitered in to look out about him. What's today, my fine fellow? Today? Why, Christmas Day. It's Christmas Day. I have missed. Hello, my fine fellow. Hello. Do you know the falterers? In the next street but one at the corner. I should hope I did. An intelligent boy, a remarkable boy. Do you know whatever they sold the prize turkey that was hanging up there? Not the little prize turkey, the big one. What the big one asked me? What a delight, boy. It is a pleasure to talk him. Yes, my back is hanging there now.
I still remember loving the danger. You set me on fire when I'm by your side. Taking me higher before you down if you go down. Now you say you wanna get away. You wanna take me